My mother-in-law threw a party for my baby and banned my parents, so I threw my own and banned her for life. If someone had told me that announcing my pregnancy would turn into a territorial war, I'd have laughed and said, "You don't know Carla." But deep down, I always suspected that the second I became a mom, she'd try to become the main character. I just didn't think she'd be this bold about it. I'm Rachel Morgan, 28, living in Asheville, North Carolina with my husband, Jake. We'd been trying for a baby for nearly a year. Quietly, privately. Every test I took that came back negative made me retreat a little further into myself. So when I finally saw those two pink lines, I cried for 20 minutes. And then I screamed. And then I laughed. Jake was in the middle of fixing our leaky kitchen faucet when I told him. "I'm pregnant," I whispered, holding out the test. He dropped the wrench. The faucet kept leaking. We just stood there in a puddle of water, hugging like idiots. It was perfect. And for about 3 days, it stayed that way. We planned a small dinner with our parents to share the news. Jake's parents, Carla and Doug, sat stiffly at the table, barely reacting when we handed them a sonogram photo. Carla tilted her head, like she was looking at a stock report. "So," she said slowly, "when are we doing the baby shower?" I blinked. She added, smiling too wide, "This will be the first grandchild on Jake's side. We'll have to go all out." Jake shifted in his chair. "We were thinking something low-key," he said. "Just family and close friends." Carla waved a hand. "Oh, please, Rachel, let me handle this. I planned my sister's wedding in less than 3 weeks, and it made the front page of the local paper." I smiled politely, but something in my stomach churned. Over the next 2 weeks, Carla sent us baby shower plans. Not ideas, not suggestions, plans. Themes, menus, guest lists, a mock-up of the invitations. The venue? Willow Ridge Country Club. The dress code? Cocktail chic. The guest count? 60. I counted, and not one person on that list had my last name. Jake noticed it first. "Hey," he said, pointing to the guest spreadsheet, "where are your parents?" I stared at it, and then I reread it, twice. My parents, my entire family, weren't invited. I called Carla immediately. "Hey," I said as calmly as I could, "I noticed my parents aren't on the guest list." Her voice was sugary, dangerously sweet. "Well, this is more of a Morganside celebration. I figured your family could do their own thing." I went quiet. "They're the baby's grandparents too," I said. She sighed. "Rachel, let's be realistic. They live over an hour away. They won't even know half the guests. And I've already paid the deposit. Changing things now would be messy." "So they're not welcome?" "I didn't say that," she snapped. "I'm just saying this shower isn't about them. It's about us." I hung up and cried. Jake was livid. He called her. She told him I was overreacting and too emotional because of hormones. Classic. We had a long, painful dinner with my parents that weekend where I had to explain that they'd been uninvited from their own grandchild's celebration. My mom smiled tightly and said, "It's okay, honey. We're just happy you're having a healthy pregnancy." But I saw her eyes. It wasn't okay. That night, Jake sat next to me on the couch in silence, and then he asked, "Do you want to throw our own shower?" I looked at him. "You mean like boycott hers?" "No. I mean make something of our own. Something real. Something where the people who actually love us get to be part of it." It sounded crazy, but also kind of perfect. I nodded. "Let's do it." That was the moment everything shifted. Carla didn't know it yet, but the war for our baby's first memories had officially begun, and she was about to lose more than just control. She was about to lose her spotlight. If you're not following our channel, you might never see it again, but if you're subscribed and use the bell, congratulations! You'll always have access to the most interesting stories, whenever you want to watch and listen. The very next morning, Carla texted me a picture of the centerpieces. She'd gone with crystal baby bottles stuffed with faux diamonds and light-up rattles that pulsed pink and blue like some kind of casino nightmare. Underneath, her caption read, "Elegant but playful, right?" I stared at it for 10 full seconds, heart pounding. Then I turned the phone around so Jake could see. His reaction? He laughed. Not because it was funny, but because he didn't know what else to do anymore. "She's actually going through with it," he muttered, even after what we said. That's when we realized Carla wasn't just ignoring us, she was doubling down. Jake called her again. It started polite, as always. "Hey, Mom, I think there's been a misunderstanding about the shower," but she cut him off. "Jake, I already told Rachel this is the Morgan family's event. If their people want to feel included, they can throw something too. Or you can tell them not everything is about them." I was standing next to him. I heard every word. He turned red. "That's not okay," he said. "This is our child, not your PR campaign." "Oh, don't be dramatic," Carla snapped. "Do you have any idea how hard I've worked on this?" Jake hung up. It was the first time he'd ever done that to her. That night, we sat in bed, laptops open, looking at venues. We knew it was short notice. We knew it would be tight, but we were done playing by Carla's rules. Our child was not going to grow up hearing about the legendary shower where half the guests didn't know their last name, while my parents sat home pretending not to be heartbroken. We booked a local art studio space that doubled as an event hall. It was quirky, colorful, and half the price of Carla's glammed-out country club party. We locked in the date 2 weeks before hers, and then we started sending out invites, actual invites, with everyone's names, including Denise and Thomas, my parents, in big, bold letters. "Hosted with love by Rachel, Jake, and their families." Carla found out 4 days later. How? She saw a Facebook post from my cousin, a photo of her invitation next to a tiny rubber duck we'd included as a favor. Within 10 minutes, my phone rang. I didn't answer, so she texted, "Wow, so you're really doing this?" I didn't respond. 5 minutes later, another, "Unbelievable. You're trying to divide the family before the baby is even born." Then, "Fine, do whatever you want, but don't expect me to change my plans." And finally, "You're making a mistake." Funny how that message didn't scare me this time, because for once, I didn't feel like I was the one making a mistake. I was fixing one. Our shower was everything Carla's wasn't. There were handmade decorations from my nieces. My dad grilled outside while Jake's little cousin DJ'd a playlist that was mostly Taylor Swift and baby-themed remixes. There was laughter. There were messy games involving diapers and melted candy bars. People made toasts, my mom cried, and not once did I feel like I was performing for anyone. 2 days later, Carla's official shower happened. We didn't go. Jake texted her the morning of and said, "Hope your event goes well. We'll catch up another time." She didn't reply. We saw pictures on social media, all perfect angles and staged smiles. People in heels. People we'd never met holding mocktails with dry ice bubbling out of them. My parents weren't mentioned, my name wasn't tagged once, and that was fine, because we'd already had our day. Then came the twist, one I didn't see coming. Carla called the next week, not to apologize, not even to talk, but to issue a demand. She wanted to plan the gender reveal, and this time she made it clear. No Harper family members allowed. Before we go further, don't forget to like this story, hit subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss what happens next. I stared at my phone, reading the message 3 times. Carla wasn't asking. She was declaring. For the gender reveal, I've booked the Lakeside Terrace at Blue Hollow Resort, 3 p.m., Sunday the 16th. It'll be intimate. No Harpers, just close Morgans. Please RSVP by Wednesday. There it was, black and white. She wasn't just banning my parents from the baby shower anymore. She was trying to erase them from the entire experience of my pregnancy. And I was done. Jake didn't even wait for me to say anything. He took the phone, read the text, and muttered, "Absolutely not." We sat at the dining table, the same one we bought secondhand when we got married, and hashed out a plan. We wouldn't be attending Carla's gender reveal. We wouldn't be doing any gender reveal. In fact, we'd keep the gender a surprise until after the birth. No colored cupcakes, no smoke bombs, no viral video stunts. Just the two of us, our doctor, and a little envelope sealed with joy. When we broke the news to Carla, she lost it. "You're deliberately shutting me out of my own grandchild's life," she snapped over the phone. "Carla," Jake said calmly, "you've tried to manage every moment like it's your personal event. You excluded Rachel's parents. You ignored our wishes. This isn't about you." "You're being manipulated," she hissed. "I've never felt so disrespected in my life." Jake's voice dropped an octave. "Then you're finally starting to understand how we've felt for months." He hung up. I cried. Not because I was sad, but because he'd finally chosen us, fully. No apology, no half measures. We didn't hear from her for 2 weeks. Not even a, "Hope you're feeling well," or "How's the baby?" Then, suddenly, a package arrived at our door. Inside, a blanket embroidered with the words, "Team Morgan Only," and a note that read, "Hope your private pregnancy is worth it." I'll admit, I laughed. Then I tossed it in the trash. My parents, meanwhile, were everything Carla wasn't. They came to doctor appointments. They helped us paint the nursery. My mom cooked enough lasagna to fill a freezer. My dad built the crib with Jake, cracking dad jokes the whole time. "This one's sturdy," he said, tightening a bolt. "Stronger than a country club brunch imitation list." Jake burst out laughing. It was the first time I'd seen him really laugh in weeks. And then, just like that, it was time. My water broke on a stormy Thursday morning. Jake grabbed our hospital bags while I tried not to freak out about contractions. We rushed to Asheville Memorial in a flurry of towels, half-eaten toast, and excitement. Labor wasn't easy, but it was worth it, because hours later, we met our son, Benjamin Harper Morgan. A perfect 7 pounds, 9 ounces. Tiny fists, full head of hair, the softest little cry I'd ever heard. I held him against my chest, and everything else, Carla, the fights, the noise, melted away. We were a family. Our family. Jake texted everyone once we were settled in recovery. Carla didn't reply. Neither did Greg. My parents, though, they showed up the next morning with coffee, flowers, and tears in their eyes. "I hope you know," my mom whispered as she kissed my forehead, "we never doubted you, not for a second." I nodded and held Ben a little closer. We thought, maybe, just maybe, that would be the end of it. That Carla would cool off, that the silence would be the start of a truce. We were wrong. Because what happened next made everything before it look like a warm-up. The first few weeks after Ben was born were chaotic in the best way. I barely slept more than 2 hours at a time. Jake became a pro at diaper duty. My mom brought over soup and clean towels like she was running a hotel. My dad sang Ben lullabies in the off-key hum of someone who didn't care how he sounded. It was messy, sleep-deprived, overwhelming. But it was real. And for a while, it was blissfully quiet. No texts, no emails, no backhanded comments from Carla. We thought she had finally accepted that we had boundaries. We were wrong. It happened on a Saturday. Jake was out picking up groceries. I was in sweats, hair matted, holding Ben in one arm and a burp rag in the other. There was a knock at the door. I peeked through the curtain and froze. It was Carla. Not alone. She was standing with her husband Greg, her sister, and 3 family friends I barely recognized from Facebook, all holding balloons, wrapped gifts, and cameras. Jake wasn't home, and I was still bleeding. I opened the door an inch. "Rachel," she beamed like we were best friends, "we thought we'd surprise you. A little post-baby celebration, just something fun for the family." I blinked. "Now's not a good time." Carla frowned. "Don't be silly. We brought cake. You don't even have to do anything. We'll just set up here in the living room." She started walking in. I blocked the door. I said, "Now's not a good time." Greg looked uncomfortable. The others just stood there, unsure what to do. Carla's smile vanished. "Rachel," she said, voice cold now, "this is my grandson. I didn't get to be part of any of this. You owe me this moment." That was it. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I looked her straight in the eye and said, "You've made everything about you. Every party, every photo, every sentence. This isn't your moment. It's mine, and Ben's, and Jake's, and you don't get to force your way into it." Then I closed the door, right in her stunned face. Jake came home 10 minutes later to find me rocking Ben on the couch, hands trembling. I told him what happened. He walked out, phone in hand, and called her right there on the front porch. "I'm going to make this simple," he said, loud enough that even I could hear through the window. "You ever pull something like that again, we'll involve the police. That was harassment. We're done." He hung up before she could respond. And for the first time since our wedding, I felt truly protected. But Carla wasn't finished. 3 days later, we got a letter from her attorney. She was filing for grandparent visitation rights, claiming she had been denied access without cause, said she had a right to see Ben, said she was acting in his best interest. I wanted to throw up. We called our own lawyer. Thankfully, we had all the evidence. Texts, emails, even our pediatrician's statement that postpartum recovery required rest and reduced stress. Carla's lawyer tried to paint us as isolating parents, but in court, our lawyer read from her texts. The Team Morgan-only blanket, the surprise party stunt, the baby shower ban. The judge wasn't impressed. "This is not about the child," she said plainly. "This is about control." The motion was denied. And in a twist that made my jaw drop, the judge issued a restraining order. 5 years. Carla stormed out of the courtroom. She didn't even look back. Greg lingered for a second, tried to offer Jake a nod. Jake didn't return it. We walked out, hand in hand, into the light. That night, we sat in Ben's nursery, holding him while he slept. Jake looked at me and said, "This is it. This is our clean slate." I nodded, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I believed it. You'd think a restraining order would have been the final nail in the coffin. But no, Carla wasn't done. Not even close. A week after the court hearing, we got another letter, not from her attorney this time, but from a collections agency. The envelope was thick, and Jake opened it with a raised eyebrow while Ben napped on my chest. Inside, a statement. A single-page breakdown of charges Carla had racked up during her planning of the baby shower and the failed gender reveal, including catering, venue deposits, gift bags, and, I kid you not, custom crystal wine flutes with our unborn baby's initials etched on them. The total? $22,000. And she had listed us as the secondary party responsible. I laughed, a full belly laugh that startled men. Greg looked like he was going to launch the letter into the sun. She actually wants us to pay for this? Apparently, yes. There was even a little sticky note attached, written in Carla's perfect, uptight cursive. These expenses were incurred in celebration of your child. As such, I believe it's only fair for you two to cover your share. Let's keep this civil. Civil? She had ambushed our doorstep postpartum, sued us for access, and dragged my name through the mud, but now she wanted to split the bill? We brought it to our lawyer. She stared at the invoice like it was written in crayon. There's no contract, no agreement, no obligation. This is harassment. She sent a cease and desist to both Carla and the collections agency. They backed off almost immediately, but Carla didn't. The next week, she filed a small claims suit, tried to argue that we had verbally agreed to the expenses. Thankfully, we had recordings, including Jake's call where he told her explicitly that we wouldn't be attending the baby shower and had asked her not to plan anything in our name. The judge threw it out before we even said a word. But the message was clear. Carla wasn't trying to win anymore. She was trying to wear us down, to make parenting so miserable, so constantly filled with anxiety that we'd fold just to make the noise stop. But we didn't. We stood taller, stronger, because every tantrum she threw only made us more certain we were doing the right thing. Our parents' group at the hospital had a phrase: when someone shows you who they are, believe them. Carla had shown us again and again that she believed her love was conditional, that it came with a price tag, that family, to her, was about status, appearances, control. But to us, family was showing up at 3 a.m. with diapers when we ran out. It was watching Ben sleep while I took a shower for the first time in days. It was my dad building a mobile from fishing wire and wood scraps because he's got to have a sky. It was love. Quiet. Solid. Unconditional. So we built walls. Not out of spite, but protection. We changed our numbers, blocked her on every platform, updated the locks, and told our neighbors not to let anyone in who didn't call first. And most importantly, we lived. We celebrated Ben's first giggle with homemade pancakes. We took walks through the park in Asheville, pushing his stroller past the same spot Jake proposed. We started planning a real vacation, our first as a family. And for once, our conversations weren't about lawyers or boundaries or disaster management. They were about us, the three of us, finally safe, finally whole. But before we closed the door on it completely, we received one final message, a letter, this one from Greg, handwritten, and what it said changed everything. The envelope looked like nothing special. No glitter, no perfume, no screaming handwriting in all caps. Just a white envelope with our names on the front and a return address from Greg, Carla's husband, Jake's father. Jake turned it over in his hand for a moment, then handed it to me. "You open it," he said. So I did. Inside was a single sheet of lined notebook paper, folded neatly. No dramatic intro, no fake warmth, just this. Jake, Rachel, I'm sorry. Greg's letter wasn't long, but every sentence was heavy. He said he'd stayed quiet for too long, that for years he watched Carla bulldoze over family moments like a runaway train, and convinced himself it was just her way of showing love. But what she did during the pregnancy, excluding my parents, suing us, popping up at our doorstep uninvited, had crossed a line even he couldn't defend. And then he wrote something I never expected. "I wish I had stood up for you sooner, for both of you. I see now that silence made me complicit." It wasn't just an apology, it was an admission. He's seen the truth. He just hadn't wanted to face it. He didn't ask for reconciliation, didn't ask to see Ben. In fact, he said explicitly, "I know I may never meet my grandson, and I accept that." What he wanted was to take responsibility, to stop pretending Carla's behavior was normal, to own the fact that standing by was just as harmful as actively doing the damage. Jake sat quietly for a long time after reading it. I asked him if he wanted to respond. He shook his head. "Not now," he said. "Maybe not ever. But it means something, that he sees it." Weeks passed. Ben hit his 6-month milestone. He started giggling every time we made a silly face. We moved his crib to the big nursery, painted clouds on the ceiling with my dad's help, watched him take his first wobbly roll across the floor, and with every milestone, every tiny joy, we felt it less and less, the ache from Carla's absence. Because the truth was, there wasn't an absence, just space we refused to fill with guilt. We made a promise one night, sitting on the porch after Ben finally fell asleep. Jake looked at me and said, "Let's raise him to know love without strings." I nodded. No guilt, no performance, no family drama disguised as tradition, just honesty, he added, and safety. That's what we gave Ben. Not a perfect family, but a real one. Carla never reached out again, not even once. The silence wasn't loud. It wasn't painful. It was peaceful. And that's what we wanted all along. Not revenge, not a power struggle, just peace. So if you ask me now what family means, I'll tell you. Family is who shows up when it's messy,
who listens when it's hard, who never makes you earn your place at the table, because you're already home. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear it too. Also, tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? What city and country? And have you or someone you know ever been through something like this?